Thank you, Lillian. Good morning, everyone. How about if we just identify ourselves, who's on the phone? This is Sue Miller, who's a council member and interim chair of this committee. So, and I see Kelly Poe on. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning.
And Kelly is on from Ontario. I'm on from Salem. Who else is on?
So this is Carmen Urbina. I'm on the council and I'm in Eugene. So I'm gonna be muting it because I'm right in the middle of summer school. So if you hear a bunch of little kids around, let me know. I might not have muted it right. Okay.
Oh, sounds good, Carmen. Thank you.
And this is Donalda Dodson. I'm in Wilsonville on the phone.
Good morning. Thanks, Donalda.
And this is Patricia Alvarado. I'm on Forest Grove with Adelante Mujeres.
Awesome. Good morning. Thanks, Patricia. Anyone else? Okay, I know Lillian is on because I can see her.
Yeah, sorry, Lillian's here. And I also think Sharon is on the line as well.
Okay, awesome for staff support. And I want to do the same disclaimer that Carmen just did. It's summer, excuse me, it's summer childcare for me with 4 of my grandchildren, ages 8, 6, 4, and 1.
Oh.
So if you hear background noise or if I disappear for a minute, hopefully I'll be back.
The 1-year-old is off.
That is the challenge. You are so right, Lillian. But Lillian will be running things, so won't be a problem. And we do love children, so don't worry about it. Okay, hopefully some others will be joining us, but we also know summer is crazy. Oh, Meredith is here back again.
And I believe Don will
Meredith.
just arrive.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Good morning, Meredith and Don. All right, so any comments or changes in the June minutes that were sent, the June meeting minutes that were sent out by Sharon? Okay, if not, they will just stand approved as sent. And Sharon, thank you again for doing such a great job on documenting our meetings. So did someone else join us?
Hi, Sue. Yeah, this is Dawn Woods.
Oh, hi, Dawn. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your chair is calling in.
Oh, good. Hi, Joyce. Thank you.
Hi there.
Good morning. Oh, okay. Those aren't my grandkids, but there's some kids in the background.
I'll get ready to mute my phone.
Yeah, same here, Joyce. We may have a lot of mutes today. All right, well, let's get started with the Spark revisions. And we've got Donalda, who is chairing this ad hoc Spark advisory committee, and a council member doing that. And then Meredith is on the line as the staff support. I don't know if Shauna's on or not.
I don't believe so. No, I believe she's on vacation and can't be reached. She's March.
It is July. Okay, Donalda, do you want to kick it off?
I can kick it off. I don't know that I have the depth that Meredith has, but I'll start by saying we have on the committee used the principles from the Early Learning Council, and we've crosswalked that with the goals of the Spark Charter to be sure that we are addressing those principles and that we don't miss something. And the goal, even though the goals of the Spark Committee were identified prior to the principles, there is a good crosswalk with them. So we are, I think when I've looked at them, principles 1, 4, 5, and 6 are well represented in what we are doing with the Spark revisions. One of the things that we've started with is having a continuous quality improvement as the foundation for these revisions, meaning that quality is the guider, not activities as the guider, if that makes sense. And that we've been looking at the various domains, and we've also looked at, I think we've mentioned before, on professional development, on how in looking at those qualifications, we're recognizing that there are diverse cultures, diverse languages, and diverse experience. And so instead of just using an academic measurement, we are looking at those as having merit, I guess is the way to say that, to recognize that when we have diverse cultures and diverse populations that we're serving, that we need to have staff that also reflect that population. And so these Spark standards will reflect that as well, which also are reflected in our guiding principles. That's about, Meredith, is there something else that I'm looking at my notes quickly, but I'm not seeing anything more to kick us off. I think, Meredith, you can give us more of the depth than I can.
Yeah, that's great. That's a perfect overview, Donalda, and then we'll just dive a little deeper into some of the concepts that you've raised.
Yep. Thank you, Donalda. That's great. All right.
One thing I forgot to mention is that in our revisions, we had identified just looking at the teacher and our focus on the teacher, but the committee thought that we need to look at all of the staff that interact with the families and with the children. And so that's inclusive, but we're also differentiating between the criteria for the teacher and the criteria for the support staff, but recognizing that it's a whole unit that interacts with that child and family, which is another principle, I think, of including of the total family. And so we want to also include the total staff that work with the families and the children. I think that was a change.
I think that's great. I know my own experience in running an early childhood program was that bus drivers were some of the most important people in contacting with the kids. So that's a great addition, Donalda.
And the committee was very supportive of that. So
yeah, awesome.
Okay, now Meredith has the depth.
Okay, Meredith and Dawn, I'll bet you are the team here.
Yes, great. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to just share my screen here. Bear with me a second while I pull this up. And okay, can folks see the task list here that's coming from our work plan?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. This is Meredith Russell. I am Program Development Lead from the Early Learning Division and help staff the Spark Revision Ad Hoc Committee. And I'm actually super excited to be here today. I feel like it's a great chance for us to really reflect on the work that we've been doing with the Spark revisions and the great work that the Ad Hoc has been doing and really helping us hone in and be sure that we're being true to the Early Learning Council guiding principles and our equity lens. And it feels like a great opportunity to reflect. And as I was putting together thoughts for this morning, I can't believe that we presented to you in May. It was just 2 months ago. And I just feel like we have done so much work and the committee has done so much thinking and feedback that it's just, I'm feeling really kind of overwhelmed and excited at everything we've done. So what I wanted to do is just kind of give a quick flash of this, the Spark Ad Hoc work plan so you can kind of see where we are in the process and where we're going and the things that we've talked about in just the past short few 2 months. So, and I want to apologize a little bit. What I'm going to be showing you is very word heavy today, but I really felt like it was important to get some of the actual documents in front of you so that you could really see it and reflect on them today. So I'm happy to send this out afterwards so that you want to take some more time to peruse. So again, just a couple highlights from this work plan. As you can see, we all chatted in May, and we presented to you the first draft of the standards, and we're appreciative for your feedback about how that fit in with the equity lens. And since that time, we've had conversations with the ad hoc about the continuous quality improvement, which is really the foundation of Oregon's QRIS or SPARK, as Donalda referenced. That the standards are just one component, but they're all really filled into to our QRIS really being about supporting providers for continuous quality improvement. We've also talked a little bit about looking at the rating process for SPARK a little bit differently, and I'm going to be touching on that today. We've reviewed the second draft of standards based on feedback we've gotten, which you all got sent out, and I'm going to highlight a couple key changes in that second draft that I think are very applicable to this committee. We're continuing to do community engagement and getting feedback from stakeholders and providers about these changes ongoing, which feeds into the revision team's tweaking as we go. As you can see, this summer, we're taking these changes to some of the subcommittees, including you folks today. We're going to CCEC Thursday, and I think Best Beginnings next week, so that we're getting, those different specific lenses on the revisions happening. And then moving forward, this summer and fall, we're going to be taking to the ad hoc committee how we want to look at supporting programs and financial supports and incentives to programs based on the children that we're serving, and really kind of changing up the way that we've looked at providing universal supports to all programs based on their size to really looking at the children that they're serving. So that's just kind of a quick overview of where we are. Any questions or thoughts, reflections on that? Dawn, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you really covered it, Meredith. It feels like amazing that it feels really good that we've been staying on track, and that just the work again that the committee is doing is pretty remarkable, and as well as then the team preparing every month. So I think you covered it well.
Any questions from the committee? Okay. So moving down, I wanted to highlight, as Donalda said, one thing that's, I think, been really helpful for the revision team and us as staff with the ad hoc is taking what we're presenting to them and asking them to kind of test it against the Early Learning Council's guiding principles, which feel like a terrific umbrella for all of us and also fit in, really mirror the sort of more granular guiding principles that we've been using for SPARK revisions. So as I talk about these things, these specific revision components today, it will be really helpful to get your reflections on these three guiding principles, which I know are familiar to all of you, but basically about access and allocation for populations furthest from opportunity, taking a look at this through the racial equity lens, whether we're really capturing this spirit of continuous quality improvement that we're infusing through our whole system, and whether we're really recognizing families as children's first teachers and everything that means around respecting their culture, their involvement, their engagement with QRIS and SPARK. So these are, I guess, in terms of overall questions that we're asking you or feedback that we're asking for you. Of course, we're happy to hear any thoughts you have, but these are perhaps the three guiding principles that would be really helpful. And Donalda, I don't know if these match up to the numbers you suggested in the beginning of the principles. I didn't write down the numbers, but I'm guessing they're pretty close.
Yes, the cultural responsiveness. We have practice-based evidence. That was number 4. I think I've got. I do see both 3 and 4 in them in what we're doing. So, yes.
Yeah, it's great how they all really fit, and I think for the pieces that I'm sharing today, maybe these are the most relevant, but others are welcome too. This is just sort of like a guiding framework, maybe for the feedback.
Well, and we might say too that the committee is extremely cognizant of parent engagement and always keeps that in mind as we're looking at these too. So it's the provider, but it's also how this affects the families and giving the voices to the families that are going to be consumers in this system.
Exactly, and we so appreciate the committee bringing us back to that, to the parents as the Great. So one new piece that we wanted to show you was the revision team has created a kind of a one-pager rubric so that we can see all of the domains and all of the standards on one page. And we know the devil is in the details, and there's so many more layers and pages of information under each of these standards, but we really wanted to show you this as a one-pager because I think it was really helpful for the committee to see the progression across each of the domains and how that's represented at each of the star levels. I believe they're continuing to make some tweaks on this, but this was something we presented last time, and it got really positive comments. And I'm going to be highlighting this particular domain, the inclusion of children, families, and cultures, for your feedback today, as well as some changes that Donalda mentioned to the educator qualifications. And also something we're not going to dive into today, but we did want to get on your radar screen is this domain you've not seen, and around children's safety and program stability. And what that really is the compliance requirements around licensing compliance. We know that the licensing foundational health and safety standards are the foundation of Oregon's QRIS. And we really want to see those integrated more like a standard as opposed to a separate requirement, so that programs are really able to integrate it. And we're thinking about making some tweaks to that. We haven't really dived into that, but I did want to highlight that. So as you look at that, you'll say, wait, what's this children and safety piece? It's a requirement that we've had, but haven't really integrated it into the standards. So this is a great one pager, and I might suggest, Sue, that we're going to be, again, looking for some changes for this when we meet with the ad hoc this Friday. And this might be a nice document we could send out to this group afterwards, just a one pager to kind of have in their back pocket.
Okay. Whoops. Go ahead, whoever was just speaking.
Well, Meredith, I just was going to add to that. When you look at the progression, you can see that individualized approach and the positive. We're looking at building positive and consistent relationships, and all of these relate back to equity, because you have to meet the child where the child is and where the family is to be able to achieve some of those things. So it doesn't blink at you, but it's there.
Blink at you. I like that, Donalda. Meredith, can you go scroll down and show us what's the new one that you just mentioned? Sure. There.
Yeah.
So do you want feedback on that as we go through this document? I'm not too sure how the committee can be most helpful to you and Donalda.
I think not today. I think we haven't fleshed it out enough. I just wanted to highlight this for you in case it comes up, and just maybe sort of a tickler for another time. We haven't fleshed this out, but we are beginning to talk about those compliance pieces as part of the standard. So I just wanted to highlight that for news to come, but we're not going to dive into that today. Does that make sense?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense of, so this is more of an overview for the committee as opposed to time when you both want feedback from us. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or thoughts about this document and this summary?
I really appreciate the progression that it shows, going from 3 to 4 to 5, and what I think Donalda was just pointing out. But it certainly helped me understand, you know, how a provider kind of moves through the system or increases the value of their program. Any other comments from? Yeah, go ahead.
It just shows how you add to. So that's also part of the principle that with the Spark revisions was that somebody may just be beginning and they may not be a star rating, but they're starting to build their practice and build their service. And when you get to the star rating, you can see as they build, they can see where they go to the next level. So it's a deepening, and I think that the chart is reflective of the deepening of that and the richness that happens as they grow towards the 5-star.
Right. So other committee members, I'm wondering if Joyce, Carmen, Patricia, Kelly have any comments at this point?
I do. This is Patricia. I want to say that I really appreciate the work that you guys have done on this document and the scaffolding pieces that show how providers and programs can move from Star 3 to Star 5. The current system is not supporting equity at all, and I think this is such a great job that you guys have done.
Yeah, this is Joyce. I agree with that. I like the clarity in each one of those standards as it moves from a 3-star standard to a 5-star standard. So that I think is great.
This is Kelly, and I guess my comment is how much I like how these standards look like action. They look, there's a lot of words that have the ing, supporting, you're doing things, and this document really reflects what's going on and actually happening in those child care environments. My concern is always how easy is it for someone to not actually implement these standards and still check the box. And so that's something that we have talked about a lot in Eastern Oregon with our focused child care networks, is how do we ensure that these standards are actually being accomplished in the setting, and that people are not just going through the activity of checking a box and completing a portfolio. And I like this document because that's what it looks like. It really looks, it really reflects a change, progression in quality, and I like that. I like that a lot.
Good point, Kelly.
Okay. I do.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
I do think that there's going to be a review process, so that will be helpful.
Review process of what to know?
Of the individuals who are applying for these. Isn't that, Dawn, isn't that what I remember us saying, that somebody from the child care office would be observing?
Yeah, I think when we think about kind of the monitor, both the rating and the monitoring is looking at what are our existing resources in terms of both the meeting the standard as well as the implementation. I think that's some of the stuff we're still working through, but I think to Kelly's point, that's exactly, it was good to hear that that's how you read these standards, because we really wanted them to be written in terms of implementing the practice. And so that's nice to hear.
Okay, thank you, committee members. Great feedback for staff. So we're, I think, back to you, Meredith.
Great, that is really great feedback and different feedback than what we've heard. So that's terrific. Thank you. So I want to segue that. That was actually a perfect segue to one of the topics that we've talked about in terms of sort of the overall reconceptualization of the tiers and how we're looking at this a little bit differently. And so I wanted to share that piece. And you can see on the screen, hopefully, that the way we're looking at the new Spark standards is we want it to be the progression that 3-star will be understandable and measure, sort of that foundational achievable level of quality. The 4-star rating will build on the 3-star, so we're keeping that block system, but be focused on adult-child interactions, and that's where we're proposing that we have the class assessment, which is an on-site assessment, a very specific tool of adult-child interaction. And then at the 5-star level is really building that that comprehensive level of quality and sort of those stretch goals for programs that builds on the 3 and 4-star. And one of the ways we've talked about this is for these to be rungs on a ladder, very achievable rungs on a ladder for programs to be able to work towards. And so the changes that we're proposing is going from that block system. Excuse me, hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. So what we're looking at is doing what we're calling a hybrid system. So rather than a pure block system that you have to meet all of 3 and then you have to meet all of 4 and all of 5, is looking at earning points for each standard. And I'm not going to go too deep into the weeds with this, but just the concept is that for each domain, a program would need to meet a minimum score. And then all of those scores combined would need to meet an average, so that the program might have some varying strengths or, you know, areas where they're less strong, but overall they reach an average that allows them to pass that star level. And the feedback that we got that sort of asked us to go this direction comes from a number of different places. It came from programs and partners who said, we really want a new system that's going to allow programs to capitalize on their strengths. So maybe they're sort of at a just above average level on some things, but really, really super high quality in other domains. We want that to count for them. We didn't want it to penalize programs for maybe places where they weren't as strong. We really wanted it to highlight their strengths. And it also came from the validation study and realizing that most of us know that programs are not exactly equal in quality across every domain, but the building block program sort of forces programs to demonstrate that. And the feedback was that wasn't really capturing the reality of program and the strengths of programming. And so I wanted to just highlight that and just see how that resonates and if that fits with what you were seeing in that in the matrix that I showed above. And
Meredith, I might add too, this is where the equity often could be reflected, especially if you've got a provider that's very population specific and has a lot of strengths in that population that they're serving, has the language, has the culture, has a lot of those other things. They may be very strong in that particular aspect. That makes sense.
So this is Lillian. I have a additional question. So within each of these tiers, are there any identified kind of standards that, you know, regardless for that particular tier should be in place?
Lillian, that's a very wise question. And that's exactly where the Spark ad hoc went. Are there domains that are more important? Are there domains that are going to be required? Are there domains we need to wait? And that's something actually we're going to be taking back to Spark or to the ad hoc on Friday to talk about. Mm-hmm. We had a really good initial discussion, which highlighted how incredibly complicated that question is, because does it mean you give more points to one domain, or does it mean you just make the threshold in that domain higher? And how do you do that? And how do we assess the value? So we're talking about all of that right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We'd be open for any thoughts the committee has on that.
I think, Meredith, if I could just add, this is Dawn. I think one of the strengths that the committee, and I think just in other literature, is to a hybrid system, is that it does come from a more strength-based approach in terms of achieving the rating. So some people will say that a block system is a deficit-based approach, because you're looking at, you might have stuff in 4 and 5, but that's not being captured. So this hybrid system allows a program to show all that they have to really paint the picture of their program.
So I guess the bottom line to your question, Lillian, is more to come on that.
Okay,
very.
Yes, we had fairly lively discussion on all of those.
I can only imagine.
Hey everyone, this is Carmen. I had a question along that line. On page 8 of the draft, there's a reference to the educator qualifications worksheet. It's under the educator qualifications domain. Is that somewhere in the things that were shared with us?
If it's not in the draft of the standards that we sent out, then no, it might not have been. Yeah, if it's not in that packet, then no.
Okay.
Might not have been
That's okay. I was just curious if it was there. I'd love to see it because I think it does point to what, or it's in the category of things that Lillian was just talking about, of like how things will be weighted, because it looks like there's a list of the things that are in that, what I'm imagining is some sort of matrix of scoring, like Oregon registry step, years of experience, completion of set 2 and 3 training, demonstration of professional development planning, demonstration of language skills to serve children and families who speak languages other than English. So that looks like a really rich measurement system, which is awesome. I would love to see how those things are weighted and how the balance is struck there.
So if folks don't have any more questions about that particular tiering concept, that's actually one of the things we were going to talk about today, Carmen, so I could just go right to that. Anybody else have any other comments on that previous discussion? Great, Carmen, thank you. You're a perfect plant there. So this was a big and very exciting change that was brought to the ad hoc in the last few months about the educator qualifications. And if you recall, this has been, a huge conversation as part of the revisions, is how do we make the personnel or educator qualifications feel more equitable, feel more reflective of the field, feel more like continuous quality improvement as opposed to, sort of a ceiling or a barrier or simply, the end of a journey. And so the proposed changes have some different qualifications. So as you can see, what qualifications for personnel qualifications we're going to count for Spark. So as Carmen just talked about, there's a number of different buckets that will go into a point system that will be devil in the details, fleshed out in a worksheet that programs will get credit for, quote credit. So what counts as educational attainment, and that's really a way of talking about our Oregon registry steps, which is part of our professional development system and captures education and training that providers have, including community-based training and college-based training, and taking a diversity of courses and core knowledge categories folded into the step level. And I believe why we're talking about it as educational attainment as opposed to just the step level is the step level really encompasses a lot of things. And so that is a key component. And to answer your question, Carmen, the educational attainment has the biggest weight out of all of these things because it does encompass so much. And then these additional pieces are ways for programs to kind of get extra points towards their whole star rating. So we're looking at programs or providers' experience in this field, their professional development planning, so whether they have a professional development plan and whether they've gotten support to document that, whether it's a center director or quality improvement specialist or an expert in their community. Also looking at the ongoing professional and the look back of professional development that they've had. So are they taking set 2 and set 3 trainings? Is their professional development that they're engaged in a match with their professional development plan? And are they showing progress on that? And then the addition that is new that we're super excited about is language support. And let me show you what that looks like. So language support is really having a diversity of languages within the program. So it's the providers that speak a language other than English that can comfortably communicate with families and support children's learning and development. And then really giving the most points for a program that has providers where that language is meeting the children and families' needs so that it's reflective of the community that they're serving. So let me pause for a minute and see, do people have questions?
Joy?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I don't see is, as we talk about culturally responsive practices and materials, I would like to see that added as part of the evidence.
That sounds excellent. Can you say a little bit more about that, just so we can capture that in the notes?
Demonstration of use of culturally responsive practices, curriculum, and material.
And will you, folks, help me remember that comment, because the next piece we're going to go through is a very specific domain that may capture that and may not. So I want to make sure that if it's
okay. So what I said was demonstration or incorporation of culturally responsive pedagogy or practices, curriculum, and materials.
great.
And the other part, to serve children and families who are culturally diverse. Because this one here, this last bullet, speaks to linguistic diversity. I would suggest that we need to have cultural or ethnic diversity also reflected in the evidence.
I do believe that's the intent, so it's good to get it articulated.
And a conversation did come up, and when we're thinking about this, this is really specific to the providers in the program. Mm-hmm. What we're calling out here is language diversity regarding the providers, not so much racial and ethnic diversity of the providers in this particular piece. And I'm not sure, Joyce, if that's kind of the direction that you were going. I can hear it.
Well, sorry, this is Lillian. I guess what I heard, and Miss Joyce, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think regardless of the racial and ethnic background of the provider, there are specific things that a provider can do in order to be culturally responsive within their practices, and being able to articulate that and demonstrate that would be the key.
Exactly what I was saying. That's it. Yep.
Kind of what we've done with the same thing we've done with language, doing it with being sure that we address the culture as well as linguistic. Yeah. And I do believe that that's the interest.
Yeah, this is Carmen.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I completely support that, because one thing is language proficiency, but the other one is, cultural identity development that comes with practices, pedagogy, and that delivery. So to me, the understanding cultural identity development for students of color and how to support their cultural identity development is key.
Yes, so for example, what I sometimes notice as practices within, I started in the K-12 system where an educator will learn Spanish, for example, but I like the phrase command Spanish as ways of disciplining a child. So sit down, be quiet, don't do that. They're utilizing language in the classroom. However, the way in which they're utilizing it is pitting a language, using a language as a way of disciplining a child, rather than using that as a way of engaging a child and supporting them through development and learning in a positive manner. So, pairing those pieces together can help with fleshing that out some.
Mm-hmm. So I haven't, and I apologize because I'm on my phone. One of the things that comes forward for me also when you're talking about language is that there's always its intention and impact. There's always the intentionality of, okay, let's go hire bilingual, hopefully bicultural providers. But then they come into a system that's white dominant, and they are hired. So my fear is that they're going to be hired because they need somebody that's bilingual in order to meet this criteria. So is there something there that in the process of this, as part of the evaluation, we can go back and do a survey with the providers that, you know, might be bilingual, bicultural, or providers of color that can come from the state in affinity, to evaluate how is it that they're doing, how is it that they're being retained, what is the environment that they're currently in. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the other Carmen. I love that thought. I've been sitting here thinking very similar things, because one of the fears that I have is that, and again, I know we're discussing how to weight the language and culture piece in terms of qualifications, but one of the fears that I have is that people will be hired or because of that bilingualness but not supported, or that it'll just be like a checkbox. Because I think that in some programs, you know, we have a whole range of how that language and culture is incorporated and used and respected and is part of a rich program. And I think that in some programs, it is legitimately one important component. But I can definitely see in other programs that want to be able to maintain 5-star or to hit 5-star for whatever their reasons are, that it is possible that people can be hired, or as people are going through the process of submitting portfolios, that they can be, that'll be a check off, but that they're not actually, their education or their professional development isn't being supported in the same way. So I feel like I would hate to see people, it'd be like, oh, well, you know, in order to meet this 5-star, these 4 staff who are all English speaking need more training in order to hit it, but because you already speak Spanish, you don't need more training. Oh. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, you don't want to
it does, because this is Carmen. You know, I see this often that we go ahead and systems hire bilingual, bicultural staff, but at the same time, there's such an inequality and disrespect, and the environment that's creating around retention for these folks is not there.
Yes.
And so therefore, the programs that are created because there's that one person, and that one person has a relational trust with the communities of color. And so once that person leaves, you know, everything leaves, but then they leave exhausted and abused.
Yeah.
So to me, I love what this part is. And at the same time, is there, you know, in my mind, it's something fairly easy that as we're going maybe down the road in 1 year, that we take it on and doing a survey with these folks. How are your needs being met? Because we have lost so much human resources when it comes bilingual, bicultural in our system, precisely because of the lack of retention.
Yes. Yeah, I think how does a survey or some set of ongoing support is that comes with that support is definitely seems necessary in order to ensure that programs and individuals are being supported in their bilingualism as part of quality, but without being exploited. Maybe that's a strong word, but it does feel like exploitation sometimes.
And then one more comment, the culturally relevant pedagogy is essential, you know, for all our students of color and for our white students too. And in that respect, cultural identity development has to be a key component and understanding of what that means for our students of color if they're going to be in a predominantly white setting, you know, or childcare.
They get co-opted sometimes.
Yeah, I really, those comments are really, really helpful. And I'm wondering if it wouldn't be relevant at this point to show a couple of the other standards that we were going to talk about, because again, this is very specific to the personnel. And what I'm hearing you folks talk about is that, you know, it's kind of, it's way bigger than that. It's really about how all the other pieces are being implemented. And so I guess what I want to take a look at is in the learning and development domain, do we have enough, and I'm just going to show the 3-star at this point. Let me make sure you can see my screen there, where it's talking about activities and materials reflecting enrolled families' culture, language in the program and the community. And then I was also going to take us through this whole domain of inclusion of children, families, and cultures, which is really, I think, where maybe it gets a little more into the actual practice, regardless of who that staff person is, so that children and youth and families of all races, ethnic groups, religions, family structures, cultures, sexual orientation, gender identity, abilities are included and respected. Frequent conversations with children, families being encouraged to visit and participate and share traditions, etc. Let me shift gears 1 second. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. At the 4-star standard in inclusion of children and families, talks about ongoing discussion with families to clarify expectations and preferences, participating in meetings and partnerships, communication and collaboration with families. Program reflects the home languages of enrolled children through singing, storytelling, books, print, other verbal language. And I'm reading this for folks on the phone. Families are invited to share traditions and activities from their home culture with other children in the program. And program provides information to families about community, that should say community opportunities. And then at the 5-star level, again, just that scaffolding, the program hosts meetings and events for the purpose of families providing input, developing relationship with other families, and providing educational opportunities. So let me pause a second and get folks' reflection on that as a domain and whether that is beginning to cover some of the cautions that that you've raised, or how else we might want to flesh this out.
This is in the family partnership domain you're talking about, right, Meredith?
Yes, and the new domain is called Inclusion of Children, Families, and Cultures.
Right. Because I think some of what they were discussing also might be reflected in the learning and development domain, because it's talking about adults that are actively included. I haven't searched it out. I just it seems like our discussion is about adults and how adults deliver versus how families receive. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, and I think a unique distinction about the conversations that we were just having was that piece around, again, looking at the provider supporting the child and looking at how a program supports that provider in supporting the child. Where around kind of, just say like the bilingual, bicultural staff and the conversation that we had there around their specific support and engagement and inclusion in an environment, and shifts that a program or a center must make in order to properly support that individual entering into that system, and shifts they have to make in their program in order to make sure that they're utilizing their skills and expertise in childcare in addition to their language skills as a way of being supportive. Like, so for example, when you have a highly trained provider that has specific content knowledge in early childhood, however, because they're bilingual, the only thing, what they're seeing as valued in the program as someone that can translate a conversation without actually utilizing all components and aspects of them within that environment. I feel like that's where I see some of the rubs happening. And sometimes I see that's playing out within, programs, whether, within communities through being a state-run agency where that can happen with utilizing bilingual, bicultural individuals.
So to me, Lillian, I think that helps me to even see that we need to do something in this learning and development, because it's about the adults delivering the training. And what you're saying is we want to value them beyond their language. It's their skill that we're talking about. They, the adult.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, there are individuals that encompasses so many things.
Yes.
And if just say like if someone hires, again, a highly qualified individual that's bilingual, I sometimes see those individuals solely being relegated to doing certain things rather than being acknowledged as a professional within their field that can, support and, engage early learning environment in a variety of ways.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with Lillian, and I think the other example is, if you're an African American in an environment and you have a knowledge of history and culture, then that's all people see you as, and that's all they want to use you for, whereas you may have other skills. So I think that her point is well taken, that we need to make sure that we're engaging all the skills and advantages that individuals bring into an environment, which includes the specific linguistic or cultural content or pedagogical knowledge that they may have.
I think we see this with our tribal programs and with some of our new immigrant refugee populations too. We want to be sure we get the full 360, not just part.
That's what happens is you limit the possibilities of what can actually be provided.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
This is Carmen. I think the exciting part for me is that this starts a cultural shift, in thinking and valuing. It brings a different, an equity lens to looking at the staff that you're hired, the retention of your staff, and the professional development that you're bringing forth. So it starts creating a shift in culture, which I believe that's why I believe this work is really important, but also we have to be really consistent because in order to shift culture, and practices, we need to put, again, these really strong policies and support them.
Yes. Good.
Really, really helpful discussion.
Well, this is good because we have our committee meeting this Friday, so hopefully we'll be able to utilize these comments and help us as we take the next step.
Are we close? I'm trying to figure out how to participate in the conversation. So this is Kelly, and as we go through this, the more I realize how center focused this language is in this document. I love the overview. I love the idea of raising quality. Most of the providers that we are aware of, because we have a lot of providers in Eastern Oregon, we have a lot of kids in Eastern Oregon, but we don't have a lot of providers who are participating in the system. And I don't, it's one thing to get them registered, which is very difficult, and we're having a struggle with that. We're way behind on that. And then to take the next step to get them engaged in Spark, where most of the language and a lot of the conversation we've been having here is really focused on center programs and not family child care. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around where the inequity is in this document for family child care providers, especially those providers who in my communities are Spanish speaking. Some of them have come from Mexico and are not going to have the educational attainment to be weighted heavily.
Kelly, that's why I'm really excited about these educational qualification, what counts, because yes, education attainment is one, but experience. And so especially with our Latino providers in the home, many of them have years of experience doing childcare or working with families. And sometimes all they need is some assistance to have a professional development plan. And many of them have desires. I've seen some of ours in our Jackson County. They've gone from getting their GED to working on their bachelor's and now working on their master's.
Right.
But they needed somebody to help show them the way. So this, I think, allows that and gives them points for their experience and for their language support and for the fact that they are wanting to engage in professional development. That's why I was so excited about this part.
And that's what I read, but the conversation was that the educational attainment is the most important and weighted the heaviest. So that's just what I heard the conversation today. It's not what's in the document. The document said it was a combination. And so that's what I thought looked pretty terrific. But if it's going to be, I just don't want to create more barriers than we have already. We have two of our Spanish speaking providers have submitted their portfolios and have their 3 stars. So we're working really hard through this process and supporting providers. So it's, but it's hard to get those family child care providers engaged in this because they don't get more kids and they don't make more money.
Yeah.
And we're really struggling with just getting people who are doing care in their homes to be recognized. That is our bigger piece of work. And so I want to make sure as we do Spark that the language that is in these documents is language that gets those providers excited about participating. Because I'm most excited about raising the quality, because that's what's not happening, is that these providers who are not on the radar are not being supported and we're not increasing their quality. So somehow, I don't have a suggestion. I don't like to say something if I don't have a suggestion around it. That's the lens that I've been listening and reading with, is how would my family child care provider who is currently trying to get engaged or actively staying disengaged, how do we get them excited about increasing their quality?
So Kelly, and again, I don't know if this is the comment that you may not have a suggestion for, but what do you think could be either included in this document, or what are certain things that you think would resonate with the providers in your area that would help them like engage in this document in a different way?
Yeah, so that's why I've been quiet, Lillian, because I don't like to make comments if I don't have some sort of suggestion. That's just when I'm listening. I love the one pager, the very first one pager. I guess the thing that really threw me is when there was the comment that said that educational attainment is the most important and weighted more heavily. And if that is or isn't the case, I suppose that needs to be clear. Or if it's possible to use experience and professional development in a way that it really would balance out and give them that opportunity and level that playing field for those providers. That would be good.
Kelly, this is Joyce. I understand exactly what you're saying. I think that is one of the points that Albina Head Start has consistently raised. And I too kind of had a reaction to the educational attainment piece being weighted higher. I think that places some of our providers at a disadvantage, whose experience and documented work actually, in my opinion, sometimes may be far more useful and valuable than the formal educational attainment that may be used. So I'm glad that you raised it, and you don't have to have the answer today.
Yeah.
I mean, just raising it and putting it on everyone's radar that we need to look at how do we not set up standards that disadvantage people at different points. So,
yeah,
thank
and
you for
are
raising it.
most vulnerable too. And I'd say that nearly all, most of the center-based programs that we have in Eastern Oregon are Head Start programs, and they don't need another set of criteria to prove that they're quality. They already are held to a standard. So I want to make sure that what we put out is really lifting up those who are most disadvantaged, most vulnerable.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kelly, for bringing that up, because this one is one that I grapple with a lot, and I just think when I first started at the Early Learning Division and I wanted to be registered, get my STEP registry, even though I had little to no experience in early childhood education, because I had a master's, because of other academic qualifications that I was a STEP 11 and was able to take master level classes to other providers if I wanted to. And I didn't have the experience in early ed to per se do that. So I'm excited that we're going down this pathway and exploring this so that we can equalize some of the things that we're seeing in the system.
So this is Sue. I'm back again. Sorry, I was in and out a little bit. So I'm wondering, I guess, Donalda, Dawn, and Meredith, how can you incorporate this feedback in, I guess, the document or the work of the ad hoc committee? And as I think several people have pointed out, the document just listed all of those different criteria. It was in the conversation that it was mentioned that the academic qualifications would be weighted more heavily. So what's kind of the staff or ad hoc committee response to this input?
Hi, this is Dawn, and I'll go ahead and try to answer that. I think one of the challenges is that there is a significant amount of research that does show educational achievement, and I think that was part of the balancing that we're trying to do. I think our next steps is continue our conversations with the other two committees around in this area, and then I really think we need to come back kind of as a team and talk about this. And I actually put a note on my notes is that I'm hoping to engage Lillian to help us kind of think through some of these comments in terms of potential, in terms of revisions or points of clarification to the standards and how things are rated, because they do all kind of intersect. Meredith, do you have any other thoughts around this conversation, or Donalda?
I do think that we can address it, because in our standards, under the possible evidence is where we've got some of those, and so we can address it there. I also would like to look at a couple of the other standards, the one about family, but also the one on learning environment, because especially since we're going to be using class, that has to do with the teacher-child relations, and I think some of our discussion relates to that. So we just have a little bit more work to do.
Okay, so we need to move on because we've got other items on the agenda. So that's why I'm sort of asking. It sounds as if committee members, Donalda and staff, will take this input back and then we'll see what the next iteration looks like. Is that correct?
Yes, it's been really rich. Okay. I really appreciated the conversation because it helps us. I think it really helps us. It's helping me to put this in perspective. I was having a little trouble trying to braid all of these concepts and not lose a concept in the process.
Right. And I appreciate the chart that is in front of us right now with and the fact that there is research that is, the basis for obviously some of these recommendations.
So Sue, I just have to say, this is Kelly. What I have to say is what that chart shows is the inequity across Oregon. When you look at Eastern Oregon, you've tipped the scale out of our favor. You've put it out of our reach to be successful. That's what that graph shows. That's what that graphic shows me.
Yeah, and
So I don't like it.
I think
I don't like it at all. It might be research, but the research shows that Eastern Oregon is not going to do well. And we're not going to get high quality early learning providers in home doing care if this is the message we put out there.
And
okay, good feedback. Thanks, Kelly.
I'm wondering, when we talk about educational attainment, kind of what are those components of educational attainment,
Right.
and how, again, I also have, I mean, that the graph is a little off-putting to me as well. But I'm thinking about, just say, like, when we're thinking about educational attainment, I think experience, PD opportunity, language support can be captured in educational attainment. So it's kind of like, how do we describe educational attainment, and what does that mean? Because I hear the phrase, but I'm not quite seeing, how does that manifest? Yeah, what are we specifically talking about?
For the purposes of this model, this is Meredith, that really does mean the steps, the Oregon step level. So if that's helpful to think about it. But I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for the input. We actually did get through all of the talking points I was hoping to today, and I was really excited that it kind of flowed in a natural direction to talk about all of those. Really appreciate everybody's input.
Yes, thank you.
Yep, thank you, Donelda, Meredith, and Dawn. We appreciate your time and all the work you're putting into this. Spark is going to be continue to be a great, but even a stronger program for our kids. So,
I think it's going to, yes. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
So we'll say goodbye to several people. And is Erin around? Are we going to go to Healthy Families, Lillian?
I believe so. Erin?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you be on a webcam somewhere, Erin?
I am. My laptop connects to my big screens here in the office. I can try. I've never made it work from here, but I can try.
Okay. I think it's helpful if people can see.
Okay.
And I just made you presenter.
Yeah, congratulations, Erin. Lucky you.
Right.
What power, Lillian?
I might need a minute. I have had some issues with my computer, which is why it's easier just to plug it into my monitor. So let me see what I can do here.
Okay, if it takes more than a minute, we'll just go on and do it next time.
I could just run over to Lillian's desk and sit with her.
Yeah, feel free to.
Do you want me to? I can.
Sure, if you need to.
Well, if you guys want to see my face, I can.
Okay, Erin, why don't you just go ahead and we'll do it just the way it is. Okay. But in the future, I'd really love to have staff on the webcams.
Okay, I will try and figure out how to make that work here.
Okay.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, those beautiful children.
Okay, I wasn't sure if what you were seeing, if you were seeing my picture behind. Okay, those are my beautiful girls here. So let's see. I have two screens at my desk, so I'm not sure which ones you guys are seeing. Probably now, can you see the questions?
We're looking at the Healthy Families Oregon Strategic Plan document. And if you can enlarge the document on your computer, it will probably show up better on the video.
Sure. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Is that better?
Much better. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, great. So thanks for having me back. I appreciate the opportunity to present these questions to you guys. This is one of 3 documents of questions that we've developed, and I'm hoping everyone had a chance to read through them before the meeting. I'm not sure if that happened or not, but so really my hope was that I could just get some feedback from you all on your thoughts around the questions. I can tell you, so this one specifically, the parent participants, This one has the most questions, probably because our program is obviously centered around the families we serve, so really wanting to get a lot of feedback from families. You may notice that there's some questions that you're wondering maybe why they're not on here. We have other avenues in which we ask families feedback through forms that they already fill out for us on an ongoing basis. And so we don't want to ask the same questions over and over again. And so there's some questions on there that we didn't ask again. But so this first part on this page is kind of just a little paragraph that we wanted to include with the questionnaire, and then it would be followed by these questions. We are wanting to have this translated into the languages that we can translate them to from here from our office, and then we would offer it in paper and then also through SurveyMonkey kind of online option, but that home visitors could take out a paper version, families could fill it out and send it back to us, or do it online. We've also have had some conversations around, we'd like to reach out to some of our programs that have kind of a harder time engaging different populations and ask them what we could do to really support them in engaging families to participate and provide their feedback, whether that be like hosting a family night or doing something like that would encourage families to come and provide their feedback. We're open to doing something like that if our programs feel like it would be helpful. So those are kind of some of the things we've thought through in trying to get parent feedback, which I feel like is probably the hardest to get sometimes. But as far as the questions go, I'm wondering if you guys had any feedback for me on the questions themselves.
Well, I guess, Erin, what would be helpful in kind of setting up this conversation would be like for both of the documents, kind of what would be your ideal outcome or the purpose and outcome of the sets of questions that you've identified for these two different audiences?
Okay. So at the top of this form, we have written out kind of our so I'm just going to speak specifically to the parent participant one, and then we can move to the other ones. We have up here, oops, oh no, now I'm gone. Where did I go? Is that, there we go. So we kind of outlined the purpose to collect data from parent participants throughout the Healthy Families program, to include a parent voice as we update our Healthy Families Oregon mission statement. And so sorry, that first one, overall perception of Healthy Families, really wanted to get their perception of our program, excuse me. And then to collect data to really look at, are there any major themes that we're seeing throughout parents' answers to these questions, where we can make improvements in our service and communications. And so from our Central Admin Office, what can we do to help support our local programs in making some of those program improvements if we're seeing a trend or a common theme throughout these questions? The strategic plan that we're working on is the first time we've gone through this kind of a process for Healthy Families as a central administration office. Mm-hmm. This is a new requirement from Healthy Families America. So it's exciting to me to be able to engage families and programs at this level. And so really wanting to make sure that our parents have a voice in our strategic plan, which will be a 5-year plan for our central admin office here, which is the staff here at ELD that work with Healthy Families, and kind of how we move forward over the next 5 years to support our program. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
So Erin, this is Sue. You may have mentioned this, but how are parents going to receive this survey? Are the home visitors taking it out with them over the next few months, and then helping the parents respond to the questions or fill it out?
Yeah, that would kind of be the main method of collecting parent feedback. We would do a paper option as well as put these questions into a SurveyMonkey, so parents could do it online as well. I've also been thinking about, I'd like to reach out to our data, our evaluation team and see if there is a way. So when families agree to participate in Healthy Families, they agree to provide for their information to be shared and all of these things that they agree to as far as that we can contact them. And I'm really interested to also send this potentially to families who are no longer in the program, but maybe in the last year or two have exited from services to get their perception as well. But as far as the families that are currently enrolled, it would mainly be the home visitor taking it to them, either in paper or on the computer.
Okay, and what's your timeline for getting this to parents and getting the feedback?
Well, you guys, let's see, we're here today, and then we have a Best Beginnings meeting July 25th, where I'm hoping that we can get feedback from them and then finalize the questions, and then we'll need a couple of weeks to translate, so which puts us kind of middle of August, and we would like to give programs about a month to get some parent feedback. It's not a super long time to get feedback. All of our families that are enrolled are seen at least monthly. So they're either getting home visits once a week, every other week, or monthly. And so we felt like since we are hoping to have this done by the end of December, and our last Best Beginnings meeting for final approval would be November, we're hoping to get the questions back by the end of September.
So giving the whole month of August and September to receive responses?
Yeah, well, we probably wouldn't have, because we need to get, we'll take some time to have them translated, the final questions translated. We wouldn't be able to get them out to programs until probably mid-August. So it would be like the end of August and then most of September, or at least the first half, if not an extra week or so in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can you scroll down on the questions? And I may have missed it because my life's been a little chaotic in the last several weeks. But when I printed out what came, I had questions for hub directors and questions for providers. But
yeah,
I missed.
You missed this one. Okay.
So
well, we'll look at the other ones too, because I'd love feedback on all of them. This was just one I thought we'd start with.
Okay.
So yeah, if people would like to take some time to look it over real quick, I can scroll down in a minute and get to the rest of the questions.
And did other committee members see this one, the questions for the parents? So
I didn't. Hi, Sue. This is Patricia. I didn't get them either. I only got the one.
Oh.
So.
Okay. So I think this is new for us.
I'm wondering, do we want to start with the other ones then? And then, oh, that's loud.
Well, if this is the most important one, maybe we just scroll through this. So Patricia, who is still on the line from the committee? Carmen, are you still on?
This is
yes,
Joyce.
I'm still here.
Okay. Okay, great.
This is Joyce. I'm still on.
Okay, thanks, Joyce. So why don't we just, I guess we'll look at these questions for parents just on the screen.
Okay.
And see if there are any comments from anyone on the line.
Sue, would you prefer me to go through each one and read them, or just give everyone a few minutes to look it over on the screen?
Yeah, I think if we can just take a quick look at them, Erin might be faster.
Sure. Okay.
Any comments from committee members on any one of these four? Okay, how about what follows?
Well, there's that fifth question, and then I'll go down to the other one on the page right there.
Okay, so keeping in mind we're trying to apply the equity lens to these questions, committee members, so just thinking about about that in the language. Okay.
If there's any kind of a different way to ask a question or certain phrasing or wording that wouldn't be appropriate, those are, you know, things that I would love to know about as well.
Right. Obviously, number 8 is very focused on the early learning and prep for learning. And
this is also part of us wanting to make sure that that is something that's talked about on home visits. So this question shouldn't feel really foreign to families. It might for the families who have a brand new baby, but but families that maybe have a 2 or 2.5-year-old, their home visitors should be talking about, or even younger as we talk about early literacy. They might not equate it to kindergarten so much, but definitely early learning. And so just wanting to get a gauge on families' responses to this question.
This is Kelly. I have a question about number 8.
Yes.
It says, is there anything more healthy families can offer your family? So the person reading this, the parent reading this, when I think you're going to get assumptions of what Healthy Families is Healthy Families central office? Is Healthy Families the home visitor? And if it is the home visitor, is there anything more the Healthy Families home visitor can offer you?
Okay.
Or is it the program? Is it, I don't know. I'm just not sure who Healthy Families is if I were the parent.
Okay.
That's minor. That's pretty minor.
Okay, but I'll make that note on here.
Okay, any other comments on these parent questions from committee members? And Erin, it might be helpful to send these out to the committee so people could take a look at them even after this phone call.
I will send them to Lillian if that works, because I don't think I have the whole committee list. I'll send them to Lillian.
Okay. And I have just, I guess, one possible additional suggestion or a question for this document, with keeping within the theme that parents are the child's first educator. Could there be a question that kind of builds off the strength of kind of what have you provided to your child that you think would be beneficial to this program, or something that you can give that they could give to the program as just a nod of that fact, and something that they are providing or utilizing to support their child that could be beneficial to healthy families.
I love that.
Lillian?
Yes.
This is Patricia. I have another comment expanding on what you just said. I love what you said about recognizing the strength of the families. And in one of the questions, I cannot see it on my screen. It was one of the first questions regarding guidance. I think it was question number 5. There you go. I don't know. My suggestion will be maybe doing something in that question to reflect the culture of the family, because it might be that for some of the cultures, the phrasing or redirecting the behavior, it's a little bit different, or it might be just making the question a little bit more towards the strength of the family, saying, have you learned or shared any positive guidance strategies that work for your family or the culture of your family with the Healthy Families provider?
So thank you for that. I really like that kind of taking this question, and I want to make sure I'm hearing you right, and kind of reorganizing it with kind of the feel of what Lillian was just saying. So utilizing this question as asking them to share with us what positive guidance or redirecting of praise they use with their child to share with us. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay. Any other input on the parent questions from committee members? Okay, so why don't we go to the maybe the questions for the hub directors and then, or whichever order, and providers. And committee, know that Lillian will be sending out those parent questions, so we can have a chance to look at them, and if you would send comments back to you, Lillian, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you'll get them to Erin for us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, hub directors.
Okay. So the purpose of us wanting to include hub directors is obviously we really want our Healthy Families programs to be engaged with their early learning hubs. And so this set of questions, the purpose here, collecting data about how the degree to which our Healthy Families programs are collaborating with them, identify any innovative practices that are happening between Healthy Families and the early learning hubs, where we can strengthen and align our collaboration between those two, and then just the information, the feedback would inform development, obviously, for our strategic planning goals. And so this is a much shorter list than the other one.
Erin, can you back up to the bullets for a minute?
Sure.
I'm just wondering on the first bullet, collect data from hubs about the degree to which the hubs are collaborating with Healthy Families.
It really should be the other way around. I'll fix that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Making a note here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments on the purpose or questions about that?
It's very central administration focused as opposed to Healthy Family program focus.
Well,
is that required by HFA?
Well, the strategic plan is specific to, it's for central administration. So Healthy Families America typically across the nation is lots of individual Healthy Families programs. Oregon is one of 6 state systems where we have a central administration office that provides support to our state system of Healthy Families programs. There's only 6 or 7 states in the nation that have that. And so if you are a state system for Healthy Families, then you are also held to another set of central administration standards, where our programs are held to what are called the best practice standards specific to implementing the Healthy Families America home visiting model. So we have this other set of standards that we're required to adhere to, one of which is that our central administration office has a strategic plan to guide our support to our local programs. So the intent of the strategic plan is really to help guide our work here at the Early Learning Division to support the Healthy Families programs. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's really a combination in this whole effort of figuring out, what can central administration do, but also assessing what's happening on the ground with the programs.
Yeah, it definitely is a little bit of both. We have, data from our evaluators around different areas across the state where our outcomes can be stronger and where we can, and that information will be used as well as we are creating goals for a strategic plan. This is just a portion of where we're gathering data to develop our goals, these questions to providers, hub directors, and families. And so we'll be using data from our evaluation to help develop some of our goals. And then this is kind of that other piece where we're wanting feedback from these three main groups of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we look at question 1?
Yeah.
Okay. So my comment on question 1 is that I think it would be more valuable, rather than making them select one of a variety of options, to let people say, these are all the different ways that we communicate with our local Healthy Family Program manager.
So just kind of leave it more open-ended.
Yeah, well, leave the options, but people may see them at meetings. They may talk quarterly, they may have monthly.
So kind of a select all that apply.
Yes.
Kind of a thing? Okay. Select.
And other committee members weigh in here if you disagree with what I'm suggesting. And I would add another one here somewhere in these questions of whether the hubs are included in the Healthy Families Advisory Committees, and whether Healthy Families have representatives on some part of hub governance structures. And I know hubs have different governance structures, but just seeing if they're really integrated at that policy level, both directions, I would be really interested in.
That's great. Thank you.
Erin, this is Kelly. I have a suggestion for number 1. So tell me if this is fits with your intent, Sue. What I see is a progression here from nothing to quite a lot. And so what would happen if you had a continuum and you would ask them to circle where on the continuum they saw themselves, and you had none, on the far left, and somewhere, around 2 or 3, we see them at meetings, but we have very little direct collaboration. And then as it progresses to the right, you add those other comments, and they could select 1 through 10 where they think what describes their frequency or the intensity or the connectedness, whatever it is that you're trying to get at.
Okay.
I'm just thinking that I would be uncomfortable saying that I have I see our Healthy Families manager at meetings, but I wouldn't mark that one because I do have direct collaboration. I don't know. I guess I would select one, and if you said select all that apply, then it seems conflicting.
I see. Okay, so kind of like the farther you get, one being like none, and then the 10 being like this program manager is very involved. They're on the early learning how governance, and we're on their advisory committee, and we see them on a regular basis, kind of really involved collaboration.
That's what I'm thinking, and definitely put additional comments because they might have more to say. That's more helpful. I don't know.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Do we have any other comments from any of the other committee members?
Okay, shall we go on to other questions then?
Okay. So number 1 is kind of like, even with the additions that we just talked about, kind of just the level of involvement and collaboration. And then this one is like, is really more their satisfaction with that level. Do they want them involved more? Do they want them involved less? Are they, kind of a question. And then obviously open-ended questions are great. So really getting specific feedback. So in what way can the collaboration be strengthened?
Hi, this is Lillian. I think for just say for number 2, if your intention is to get at kind of the level of satisfaction and whether or not they want more involvement, probably the poor, adequate, very good, excellent is not the right measuring system to get there, rather than being kind of on that continuum of saying like, I want to increase, I want more involvement rather than,
Okay.
saying
Yeah.
excellent.
So really more like a more or less or stay the same kind of options.
Well, yeah, I guess like for me, if the outcome of this question is to say like, oh, kind of, I want more engagement, more involvement. I don't read the 1, 2, 3, and 4. That doesn't get me there, and
Okay.
that's just my own personal assessment.
No, that's good. That's good feedback. Okay.
Okay.
What about sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say from committee members, any other feedback on 2, 3, or 4? Okay. If not, shall we move on then to the partners or providers? Oh, yes?
Yeah, I think I pulled my plug out. But I was saying that if I were to answer number 2, how would I rate my satisfaction with the level of collaboration? I would think I would respond satisfied, very satisfied, dissatisfied, because you're just talking about the level of satisfaction, not about anything else.
Okay.
And those would be the responses that I think would be more appropriate.
Thank you. Okay, you want me to move on to the provider questions?
Yes.
Yes.
So that we, yes. Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this set of questions will go to kind of agency directors who oversee Healthy Families Program, home visitors, our eligibility screeners, our Healthy Families supervisors, and then program managers, and then really anyone else. Some of our programs have like a data entry support or administrative support, and if those staff are really engaged with their team and really involved with our program, we want to hear from them as well. Our central admin office, the standards that are required to adhere to from Healthy Families America really the first bullet kind of falls into these 5 functional areas, of which there is it is being broken into 6. So there's 6 functional areas soon to be: administration, evaluation, policies, technical assistance, quality assurance, and training. I think there's actually 6 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, so I should say 6. So really collecting feedback on those main areas. Those are the main buckets of work that we oversee for our system. Uncover additional innovative practices happening within our program, and then collecting just general themes and feedback that will inform our strategic plan goals. So first we have them just let us know who they are, what role they work in within our program.
So Erin, a quick question. Did you mention just a minute ago that agency directors would also be on this list?
Yeah, I see that they're not on the list as an option, so we will add that on. I saw that as I was saying it.
Okay.
So let's see. So everyone got this set of questions, right, ahead of time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So our question number 2 really gets at kind of if they feel like they're knowledgeable around the central administration's roles and responsibilities to oversee the multi-site system. We want one thing that came up in our quality assurance surveys earlier last year was really this general theme that people weren't feeling like they fully understood our role. Some staff weren't. And so we've developed a new orientation training to help meet that need. And so, so this was one of the questions we wanted to ask on there. If they feel like they kind of understand our role and what we do versus what their agency does for their program. Rules. So within the central administration office, we have myself, and then we have Elizabeth Underwood, support staff, and then we have some contractors. And so wanting to know, we feel like we hope we've done a good job of letting programs know who to contact for which questions. And so just wanting to highlight that here as well. I'm going to just slowly scroll and talk about questions unless I hear people jumping in to jump in.
This is Kelly. I have something to jump in.
Sure, please.
So up above you said, can you scroll back to, I think, number 2? Is there a reason why you have to say I feel? Can we just say,
sure, yeah, we can.
I understand.
Yes.
I am confident. Do we need to feel?
No, we don't need to feel.
I agree.
No feeling here.
What do you know?
Right. No, that's really good feedback. Thank you. Anything else on the first couple questions there? And so then question 4 is around the mission statement. Does the statement describe Healthy Families Oregon program well? Any suggestions to make it better? It's kind of just an open-ended question there. How can HFO Central Admin better support each program in a budgeting process? And this is a part of our central admin oversight that has gotten a lot more, what's the word I can use for this? I've definitely increased and strengthened our oversight to the budgeting process in the last 2.5 years than ever before. And so wanting to know how programs, if they're feeling supported in that or not, and how we could do it better.
Erin, a technical question. Is this going to be a questionnaire that people can just fill in online?
Yeah, if they want to. They can also do it on paper. We might also just do we could probably do like a PDF form fill if they don't want to fill it out online. It seems like if this is going to providers, most everyone they all have access to a computer. So it's easier for us to analyze the feedback if it comes in through SurveyMonkey because we can print out everyone's answers under the same question. So,
perfect. And that's easier for people, I think, to just be able to fill it out.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
These are a lot of open-ended questions.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So improving the month. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, we're just going to have to jump through these and know that we have seen these before. Number 8, how can it improve in assuring equity in services? I'm not sure. So improve what the technical assistance, and how does central administration assure equity in services?
Well, I'm not sure that the word assuring is appropriate here. I think it might be better to use just improve equity. I think just in services. We have some programs that are really involved in making sure they're reaching families furthest from opportunity. And then we have some other programs that really are really kind of just starting to look at their data on that level and really being more open to changing their practice and how they're engaging families. And so this is something we focused a lot on over the last year, 2 years. And so really wanting to ask programs if there's something they feel we should be doing in addition to things we were already doing, which I feel like is a lot. But what else could we be doing to support them in this?
Okay, committee members, do you have any suggestions for the wording of number 8, which is obviously very equity focused? Okay, so it sounds like you're trying to get at the provision of services, but also access to services. Is that right, Erin?
Well, yeah, I feel like some of our programs, if we ask, like, how could we improve your access or ensuring equity of services for, what I don't want is this kind of blanket answer of, well, we need more funding, because I feel like that's kind of an often like go-to response. And so really trying to get at how can we better support them in looking at their data and looking at how they're who they're offering services to, where do they go to find families, how are they prioritizing slots when they can't serve everyone, what can we do to support them in looking at that in a different, more equitable way. And I feel like we've made a lot of improvements just in our division in general, which is obviously supporting HFO2. But if there's something they feel like we should be doing different, or do they need more training? Do they need more technical assistance on this, more one-on-one phone calls to talk through some of it, or really just kind of trying to figure out if they feel like there's anything that they need to better support them in this.
Okay.
But this is Joyce. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Joyce.
So how can central administration improve equitable access to services?
Yeah.
For the diverse cultures? Because I see this as an access.
Yeah, I feel like that sounds better. That sounds more like what I just described.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, the series of questions that you pose, those specific questions, I don't know if you can include all of them within this survey, but some of those like really specific ones, like, would you like more TA? Would you like, more opportunities to do this? Or, how have, like, just say we spent the last 2 years kind of working on these things. What are some additional things that you would like to see in the future that can help improve this, improve the work that you're building on? So again, giving that nod to the foundation that they've built and what they're doing to continue. And it was hilarious. I was talking to myself and I was like trying to jump in. I was like, why is no one allowing me to speak? This is so weird. And then I found myself on mute. So
I have done that before, and I was on mute too, and I was like, wow, this person is really rude. They won't let me talk, and then realized I was on mute. It's always fun to feel that way.
So I think what we're suggesting, Erin, is that with number 8, it sort of needs to be expanded, probably significantly, to provide some of the background that Lillian was just talking about. I think it's, you're saying it's not just access, that it's bigger than that. And I totally understand you don't just want the we need more money response.
Right.
So I would really encourage you to expand this one a lot, and maybe you have some, different options listed under it, which you have just mentioned in your comments about what you've already done to try to support them, as well as leaving something open-ended. But anyway, I think it'd be helpful to really blow that one out much more.
Okay, that's really great feedback. I will do that.
Okay, any other comments on any of these questions from committee members?
The rest of these questions, most of these questions are really specific to very specific things. Now we're getting into kind of the data questions and how do they utilize the data. The
Can I
website.
interrupt?
Yeah.
Can we
please.
take out a little more feeling on 13 and 15?
13, sure.
Are you able to adequately participate, or do you receive information? Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you might use that filter on all the questions, Erin.
I will. I
think
just
it's
made that note. Take
good
out
feedback.
feelings.
Okay, we are almost out of time, and I know Lillian still has some things she wants to cover.
Okay.
So we've seen these before. Committee members, any other comments on up to 26? Okay, if not, Erin, I hope this feedback has been helpful. It's been a little rushed, but hopefully you can incorporate this.
I will. Thank you so much. So just for your guys' information, our next step will be to take these questions to our advisory subcommittee and then the Best Beginnings Committee next week and get their feedback on it before we translate them and send them out. Would you all like a final copy of the questions, or I don't know what kind of feedback loop you have, are expecting or would like? I can send them out when they're final, or we can just.
Sure. No, we'd love feedback. Okay. Is always good. So we'd love to see the final questions. That would be awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Erin.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Okay, Lillian, with our last 5 minutes, would you like to do the year in review? You're muted.
Normally I'm on top of my game on this, but today is not the day. So
it's okay.
So hi everyone. So I'm tasked today to kind of just do a wrap up of our year of work. So as you may know, this is our kind of last meeting for this year. We're going to take a 1-month hiatus. So August, no meeting. So you're clean and clear. And then we're going to come back September. Our next meeting is September 18th of 2017 to kick off a new year of body of work. So I'm just going to go through we wanted to take an opportunity to kind of reflect back on some of the bodies of work that we supported and provided feedback for. And and highlight a couple of things that would be coming up into the fall that, people are really excited to bring to this committee and to receive support on. As you may remember, as we started 2017, we made a real big shift in how items were brought to this committee. Sue and many other individuals worked with all of the council's committees around work plans and really thinking about kind of what are the items that can come to this committee and this committee could provide feedback and support on. So that started a chain reaction of committees identifying projects and identifying things that they wanted this committee to provide feedback on. So over the past year, again, we provided feedback on Spark revisions. We supported the childcare rules development. For example, we talked about square footage requirements. We talked about staff qualifications and things of that nature. And these programs are, again, still in the process of finalizing their final recommendations that will be ultimately sent to the council for, approval, denial, or revisions. But those are some of the big things that we were working on. Also, as you may remember, this committee provided feedback for the early learning guidelines that were released last year. throughout the entire process, and provided specific feedback on particular areas and domains, and then also provided feedback and support around how we were disseminating those documents throughout the community, and also the translation and vetting process that that document went through. We also provided support and feedback around the infant toddler self-assessment. And then one of our larger bodies of work that we worked on earlier this year was looking at the key bodies of HubWorks and looking at kind of the new iteration of their metrics, and providing support and feedback around those documents that they took and embedded within their work. And if you remember, for many of these groups, they came back to us to provide us with updates throughout 2017. So I think with the new framework in which we have identified for work coming from us from different council committees, and then also work developed within the early learning division, there has been a clear articulation of a pathway of bringing work to EIC, and there we have dockets covered for the next 6 to 7 months now around bodies of work that individuals would like to bring to us around around these committees, council committees, and also internal work within the early learning division. And I've only been hearing praise around kind of our revamped process, and also kind of the feedback that we're able and recommendations that we're able to give from this committee. So I just wanted us to kind of end on like this really positive, solid note around the body of work that you've been working on and supporting. And just like I said, we were just been receiving a lot of positive feedback, and people are just like, what, you're not meeting in August, but we need to bring something to you in August. And I was like, well, we have 1 month off, but we're definitely looking forward to our kickoff in September, and also looking for the addition, looking as we're adding new members, having an opportunity to kind of reground in our charter and reground in the body of work that we're tasked to do as we're entering into a new year of work.
Wow, that is a rapid fire update, Lillian. Congratulations. Well done. Any other comments that other committee members want to add as far as sort of the wrap up of this past year of our work?
I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to learn so much from a different angle and a different perspective of the system. This has really been great. Thank you very much.
This is Joyce.
Yes, Joyce.
Well, I should tell you, I am very happy that we have been so productive, and we've had the opportunity to share our vast knowledge base and based on experience, educational attainment, and all those other things with people who are working on, creating standards and doing all of those things. I hope, Lillian, that you'll be able to capture this in some kind of, just maybe even a one-pager that's, kind of lets people know the things that we've been doing, as well as the collaborations that we've developed with people, in the department. I mean, I think it's very productive, and it's good work, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thank you. I'll definitely do that.
We're glad you're a part of it, Joyce. And that would be a great document for the council to have. So I think the one pager is a wonderful suggestion. Any other comments from others? Okay, if not, I think we are a little over 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
No, we actually extended the meeting time to 11:15, so we are good.
Oh, did we? Oh, sorry. The agenda's, you're right. That's an updated agenda. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to make you rush so much, Lillian.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Joyce again. I think the other thing that I think would be I hope would be appreciated by the members of the committee. I would like to have a copy of whatever document you develop, the one pager or the one paragraph, sent to our organizations that support us being a part of this advisory committee. So
say that again. Sent to whom, Joyce?
To either our organizations, like for example, I represent Education Northwest. I would like for my CEO to get a copy, even though I keep him, informed, because I meet with him weekly of what we're doing.
Right.
I would like for him to really see it in a formal kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Lillian, do you have that sort of contact information for all the committee members?
Well, we can send out kind of email requests to kind of identify like that list. So if there's a particular individual within the organization that you are engaged with, that you would want to send that out to, we can start on that. And then also once we have a draft of the document, we can send it out to everyone, have anyone provide additional comments that they want, and then finalize that, and then we can send it out.
Yeah, or either you could just send it to each of the members, and then we can forward it to the appropriate people. So either way, whichever is easiest for you.
Yeah, whatever works for the committee, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just saying that because people are asked to serve on so many advisory committees, and they don't often get the recognition of the scope of the work that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important.
Okay. And I'm just going to speak for Lillian and tell me if this is wrong. But having been a staff person for committees before, I'm guessing, Joyce, it would be easiest for Lillian if she could just send it to committee members, and then each committee member can send it to whomever we would like to also be aware of the work. Okay.
Can I just say, can you leave that up to the advisory committee member to indicate who they want it sent to?
Okay, that works for me.
Okay, thanks.
And I like your idea of sending out a draft, Lillian, so that we can all look at it and add any other ideas we might have, and then send it back to you by whatever date you say, and then get a final one out. And the sooner the better. I don't know what the deadline is for the August 2nd council meeting packet, but it'd be really great to have this in that packet.
That'd be nice.
I'll do my best. 2 trainings next week.
No pressure. No pressure.
Okay.
Okay.
And can I just make an announcement? I don't know if any of you knew her, but our former CEO was Dr. Ethel Simon McWilliams, and she passed away last week.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So her celebration of life is going to be held in Washington, D.C. on Friday, and I will be going, and her family has asked me to deliver a tribute in her honor. So as a matter of fact, she actually hired me 25 years ago to come work at Northwest Regional Educational Lab. So,
wow, what a great move.
Yeah.
That one for all of us.
Yeah.
Wow, and what an honor that the family has asked you to say that words, Joyce.
Yeah, I'm really, from the beginning, I got the call the morning she passed from her brother, and my first response is, well, let me know when the services are, because I'm definitely going to be there. And so,
all right.
But anyway, I just wanted to share that with any of you who may have known her or know people who knew her, because she served on a lot of boards that had a tremendous impact on education, not just in the state, but nationally.
Yes, she did.
Right. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that,
Okay.
Joyce.
Okay, thank you.
Any other announcements or information committee members want to share? Okay, Lillian, anything else from you?
No, nothing. Again, thank you all so much for supporting, collaborating. There's been so many great conversations here, and like I said, I'm situated in the office, so like the feedback and people are just like, when can I come next to provide, to receive feedback, or here's an equity question that we really want some support on. It's just a new level of engagement around this work, and y'all are to be celebrated for increasing that level of engagement. So thank you.
Well, Lillian, you're playing a very key role in making us as a committee accessible. So I think we all want to thank you for being our attractor of information and gatekeeper.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, we will look forward, excuse me, to actually seeing everybody on September 18th. And Joyce, thank you so much for making your conference room available for us. We really appreciate that. That's very generous. And Kelly, thank you for buying a plane ticket.
And Kelly, we need to talk if I'm going to pick you up.
Right. Right.
Do you have an idea what time you're getting in?
You're on mute.
I'm not on mute.
No,
I am. I haven't bought my ticket. I haven't bought my ticket yet. What is the time of the meeting?
We set it at 9:30 because you said that would work for you to get in and take a later flight than the 5:30 a.m. flight.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'll buy it. Could you send me your email, and I'll just we'll just talk back and forth.
You talking about me? Just George.
Yes. Yeah.
I can send a connecting email to Lana.
Can you send,
and I'll get that done today.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay.
I'll send that.
Okay. Thank you, Lillian.
All right.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll have a great rest of the summer. Lillian, have a fun vacation.
I will. So hopefully the orthopedic surgeon will give me the green light before I go to Hawaii, because it's happening.
Because it's green light or not.
Green light or not.
Okay.
Everybody have a wonderful summer, and it will be exciting to see you all in September.
Thank you.
I will be going to Disney World, so I'll have stories.
Ooh, good night.
Oh, good. Take pictures too.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.